I took a pee and had to wipe my butt.
What are y'all talking about over here?
Nobody wiped their ass when they pee.
You
I
see what
stunk
you
so
walk
bad
in
on
on?
practice, I really did.
Hey, dude, we got guests, man. We got company.
Cooper playing sports his whole life. He know
It was hot
nasty
outside
folks like
today.
Shannon.
I've never
It
heard
was.
that before.
And I went back to the hotel, I peed, and I wiped afterwards. And I was like, damn, because everything was sweaty. I had to get that moisture off of it.
Yeah.
See?
I understand. I just need context. I didn't have context to the situation.
Also, too, Cooper is really nice. Like, he's a nice human.
A pleasant human being.
Yeah, like everybody else
Yeah.
know that's nasty as hell.
Is that nasty?
I guess people just aren't talking about it. You know,
Oh,
like,
okay.
it's one of those things that happens that you just
You don't say it.
don't say it.
Remember the
okay.
last time we was here and we interviewed somebody at the Houston's joint practice was when you flip your drawers inside out and hung them on the AC.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta, dry your drawers out on the AC vent.
That air's blowing into your room, man.
I know,
You
and then you enjoy yourself.
To each their own, man. To each their own.
Hold up, limitless, niggas to me kind pinning it. I fought the head to witness it. Got my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling got me up. On the mission got me up. Knowing me, I got the key. On the vision I can trust. Limitless, niggas to me kind pinning it. I fought the head to witness it. Got my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling got me up. On the mission got me up. Knowing me, I got the key. On the vision I can trust. Limitless, niggas to me kind pinning it. I fought the head to witness it. Got my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling got me up.
Cooper Kupp, man, Super Bowl champion, All-Pro, Triple Crown winner, Offensive Player of the Year, man. Thank you so much for joining us. This is The Pivot, part of Fanatics. Frederick Taylor, Randolph Channing Crowder. I'm Ryan Terry Clark.
Full name for
Welcome.
Mr. Kupp.
Yeah, full name. The story written in your hometown, what is it, Yakima?
Yakima.
Yakima. They called you Mr. Business, and it's about your legendary perseverance, right? And you talk about it on your podcast with your wife, Daily Grind, your size. It's a well-documented. Where was the level of work ethic, though, that it took to become Cooper Kupp from that 5'5", 119-pound kid? Where was that birth?
I can actually think, so I've always, I think in some ways had an intrinsically, like, I wanted to, you know, you're playing sports, like I wanted, like, effort-wise, I felt like, you know, you owe it to the guys around you, like, I want to be good for the guys that I'm playing with. I think you kind of, as a kid, like, you want to be good at what you're doing, right? Like, just like my son, like, he doesn't like it when he's not good at something. As a kid, like, I think that's kind of played into it, but, like, if I was to pinpoint a moment, it was probably 6th grade, and I was driving with my dad to basketball practice. And this is gonna sound super corny, but you know, like the little Livestrong, these are little bracelets, right? I had the little one on that just had heart on it, was just the one that I wore. And my dad was like, do you know what that means? Like, it's kind of funny that you wear this bracelet all the time. And my dad's 6'5" now, he grew, but he's like, he was real small in high school. He's like, you're going to be someone that your body's gonna be behind everyone else. He's like, I know what you want to do. If you want to go do those things, you are going to have to work harder than everybody else that you meet. And it's just gonna have to be a part of how you operate. It's not fair, but it's gonna have to be how you do things. And for whatever reason, it just, like that moment, that little car, like that 5-minute car ride to practice has been something I've always remembered, of just that seed of just saying, hey, this is something that I know this is what I want to do. And just having someone point it out point blank, like, hey, this is what it's gonna take. And from that moment on, it was an intentional piece of kind of how I handled practice, how I went about every part of my day, was now knowing that there is that little piece of me that's like, hey, if I do want to do those things and I have lofty goals for myself, I've got to outwork everybody.
And to that narrative, you look different than Fred, Ryan, and myself.
Whatever are you speaking of?
But to be a white dude, that whole thing, it just comes up whenever I talk to a white ball player. The Zach Thomas thing, he was just a monster. But they said hard worker, film guy, studies and all that. And you're just saying it like, I had to have more heart than everybody else. Bro, you won the Triple Crown in the NFL. Like, you were the best receiver in the NFL, and you know what I'm saying, 2021, that's when you won it. Like, does it ever get to you where when they talk about other receivers, it's like, oh, this dude talented. Oh, Cooper, oh, he's a hard worker. He really understands the offense. The whole white narrative.
It doesn't, I mean, I don't let it bother me. I know that's part of it, right? Like, I was compared to Jordy Nelson. I was compared to guys that's like, yeah, I'm nothing like Jordy Nelson. Like, Jordy Nelson ran like a 10-something hundred. I ran an 11.7, right? So like, it's completely different. Like, we're completely different players. But it is something. But for me, it was like, I know that piece came about, right? Because like my dad had said to me, like, your body's going to catch up. Like, eventually you're going to get to this place where you're going to be strong, you're going to be fast, you're going to be able to do the things, but it's going to take time and commitment to get to that place. I am in some ways really thankful for going through this time period where I had to create habits. You know, I had to learn how to work hard, because then when the body did catch up and I was like, hey, I feel like I'm like matching up with people where I can run with guys now. I can, you know, physically match up with the guys that I'm lining up across. I had all these habits in place already that allowed me now, like, I'm doing the things right off the field to prepare myself, and I'm just going to keep going more and more. Where guys that had that already, they weren't challenged. They didn't have to do anything. They could show up on Friday nights and dominate whoever was across from them. I couldn't do that, but it set these habits for me that move forward. Like, man, now I know how to play this game technically, tactically, and now my body's coming along physically. I can play the game how I want to. But that's always going to be a thing, though. What you're talking about is just like, I know the players I'm going to be comped to, and I know the guys that are getting comped to me all kind of fall into the same category.
You ever wink at the 6'2" black dude that runs a 4.2 and just?
Hey, if you can run, I'm not going to say if you can run, you can run, man. That's good. Good for you.
Hey, Lad McConkey, I met him at the rookie premiere this year, and I went up to him purposely. I was like, look, man, I was like, my one goal when it came to evaluating you for the draft was giving you a black comp. I was like, one, you're nothing like Welker, you're nothing like Amendola, you're not like Cooper Kupp. And my comp for him was Emmanuel Sanders, a guy I played with, get in and out of breaks, slight build, but fast, quick. And he looked at me and he shook my hand. He said, thank you. You know what I mean? So I do get it, but I also think it works both ways, though, because I know you've played with extremely talented players who do work hard, who do study, who do understand the game. And sometimes those players don't get the credit for that part of the game as you might not for your athleticism.
Your grandfather played for the Cowboys, so did your father. The football tradition that runs your family, is that something that's sort of like bred in Yakima? Did I fuck it up again?
Yakima. I looked it up. I actually just looked it up on YouTube and pressed the button.
Yeah, I looked it up, but it keeps coming back to Yakima.
No, so my grandpa grew up in like a farm town outside of Yakima, Sunnyside. And then he played for the Saints for most of his career. He ended up moving back, lived in another little like small town called Sela, right outside of Yakima. And that's where my dad grew up. And, you know, the football thing, like, I think that's just been a shared passion in our family. It's not like, there's not a lot of great football players that have come out of Yakima. There have been some. You know, I don't know if you guys know Taylor Stubblefield played for Purdue. He was a receiver. He set the NCAA receptions mark at one point. Like, so we've had some guys that have come out. But I wouldn't say it was like a breeding ground for football players or anything like that.
So you just walking around the house, your grandfather's photo, your father's photo, and you was like, put my picture up there next.
Yeah, no, it wasn't even really crazy like that. I mean, my grandpa's basement was pretty cool. Like, you know, he had, you know, like some of the trophies, his old helmets and stuff like that. You kind of see it, but you know, my dad's experience, my dad played 2 years. He kind of was a journeyman, jumped around a few places, but I wouldn't say, he would say he didn't have it wasn't a positive experience for him, right? He felt like once he got to the league, he felt like, well, this was my goal, was to make it here.
Right.
Then there wasn't like that push or like that side of him that was like, I deserve to be here, and now what can I do in the NFL? Right. And he feels like he kind of missed out on that opportunity. So he didn't talk about it a whole lot. It was really, like I said, it was just, like, I just started playing football because my dad was my quarterback, and I'd go and throw in the backyard. It was just the passion for like playing the game that led me to like, man, this is something that I just enjoy this so much and feel like it just comes naturally to me. Like, this is something that I want to do. And that's really kind of what pushed me to it. I never had the thought like, oh, my grandpa did it, my dad did it, this is what I'm going to do. It was just truly something that I just fell in love with.
Yeah. That intrinsic sort of fire that burned in you to accomplish this goal. Listening to you speak, though, it became your only goal. You wanted to make it, and you've spoken publicly about how difficult it was to handle the adversity of your young career. You know, actually talked about a drop in the end zone that could have won the game. There's a fumble on the goal line as you're going to score. I think this was all in 18 or 17. How difficult was it to deal with coming out of college, being a record-setting receiver who balled against the Power 5 schools as well, and then having some of those setbacks early when that's all you ever wanted to do?
Yeah, I think I don't know what it was like, what it's like for other players that have been at, big-time schools, played against guys, whatever, like you play in the SEC for 4 years, you're playing against a lot of NFL players, right? Like at the FCS, that's not the reality of who you're seeing week in and week out. So I think there's a piece of you that is that nagging question in the back, like, can I do this still? Like, do I belong here? I think that's always, that self-doubt is always a part of it. And maybe it's a part of everyone's game, but it's always a piece of like, can I do this? And those moments were really hard, the ones that you're talking about, where you feel like you've let down your team. I mean, that Seattle one was brutal. I remember going down that 2-minute drive, and just my mindset in that moment was not where it should have been. My mindset in the moment was just like, don't mess up. And so now when the ball gets thrown to me, I'm in this place where I'm like, I just want to make sure I run the right route, get the right spots. I got so much going through my head. And Jared threw such a great pass, I ended up missing, game-winning touchdown. And you let the team down. I fumble on the 2-yard line going to score against Minnesota. And those moments are really hard where that self-doubt becomes real, that voice becomes a lot stronger. But I was really thankful for, my wife, and just being able to have the history that I have of, how much work I put into it that you can fall back on. And, my wife being able to speak the truth over me of like, you do belong here and you've worked for these moments, and the results aren't always going to tell you the truth, right? What's your process like? How are you going about things? What do things look like? What's your mindset like? And help me kind of pull through those things, because it can be really hard when you go through these highs and these lows, and you think, at my rookie year, I thought the NFL was the world. Like, whatever happened on Sunday, like, it was world-changing stuff. Like, you drop a pass, the entire world changes. And it's like, this is a game, and I get to just enjoy being able to play it.
It sounds cool to say I should try to make a play and not think about messing up. But to really be the guy that goes out there and says, I'm about to catch the touchdown, and not say, I don't want to mess up this drive.
And to get out of that is probably like what I'm going to say people are going to hate. Like, they're going to hate to hear that this is my mindset, but you have to not care what happens. You have to not care what the result is. Right? Get completely past this place of like the wins and the losses. Get completely past the, what the stats are going to be at the end of the day. I work from Monday to Saturday to make sure I prepare and do everything I possibly can to be the best Cooper Kupp that I can be on Sunday. The things I eat, when I show up to work, the film I'm watching, every piece of it, I'm as intentional as I can possibly be. Once I step on the field on Sunday, it doesn't matter. Like, I've already done everything I possibly can to be in that moment. All I can do is attack it, and the results do not matter, because I've done everything, right? So like, there's so much as a receiver, especially so much out of my control, that I'm just going to be the best me that I can be, and the rest is let the rest be what it is. God's written out what this day is going to be already, and it's out of my control. I'm going to attack it. I know that I get to play from victory, not for victory, and that anything that happens after this game, it's already written. So the worst thing I can do is look back and be like, oh, why didn't I go after it? Why didn't I try it? When at the end of the day, it wouldn't matter whether I tried it or not. Like, I'm going to just be secure and being like, I'm going to send it, right? Like, I got an out route versus one hole. I got terrible leverage. This helps in here. I'm trying to run an out route, but I'm like, I don't have a plan. It's like, no, I'm going to go for it. Like, whatever it is, no doubt, no self-doubt. I'm just going to send it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
That is straight from the unathletic guy playbook.
Yeah.
It is actually my exact approach to football. There was so much I couldn't control, but I could control that. And I knew that no matter how much I prepared, I knew exactly where this guy was going to line up. I understood the tips and tendencies, down and distances, that if he got the ball and his cutback brought him back to the A-gap and I had the backside A-gap, I still had to get him on the ground. And no matter how much work I did, no matter how I approached it during the week, there was a possibility that might not go my way.
Yep.
But I knew I prepared the entire week to make that tackle.
Yep.
I knew I prepared to be in that place. And I could walk out of the stadium and say, on that play or on that day, Fred Taylor was better on that play, or Randy Moss was better on that play. But Ryan Clark did everything he could possibly do. And for me, I needed to do that to have peace of mind.
Yeah, and it's control your controllables. If you can control your controllables, you can be at peace. You can walk off the field. It's like, hey, there's some plays I wish I would have made. Some plays that didn't go my way, but I know I did everything I can to go put myself in the best position to make those plays, and I'm at peace with that. And if you can be at peace with that in yourself, it just changes everything.
Could you control your white Pathfinder when you was in school? That kind of
I
car?
couldn't. How do you know if I'm on white Pathfinder? She done some research.
Could you control that when you used to break down?
No, you can't control it. I got on the freeway with that thing breaking down. Oh my goodness, that was the worst purchase we've ever made. That's the worst purchase of my life.
Did you just buy it as a lemon?
Yes. On the test drive, the car first didn't start. Then on the drive, as I was exiting, turned off, and I had to start it again. And then we still bought the car. It was a terrible decision. It was like
It was you and your wife.
it was me and my dad were doing it. So my dad has to bear some responsibility, but I was pushing for I want to have a car when I get back to college. Because it was spring break. It was the last day I'm about to leave. I'm like, I don't want to be up there without a car. Yeah. We pulled the trigger. I'm telling you, I'm 50 miles an hour on the freeway. If there's any gradient at all up the hill, I'm 50 miles an hour. And we will go down the hill, the car will turn off, and the steering wheel will lock. This was the worst. The fact that we got out without just a devastating crash.
How long did you keep it?
Kept it longer than we should have. It was a few years. We kept it for a few years. It was, yeah.
That's why you believe in God.
No, it helped.
You just cruising down the road. You wouldn't know what the hell gonna happen at the
No,
bottom.
I think, there's nothing like being going 80 miles an hour on the freeway and your car's off and your steering wheel doesn't work and your brakes don't work. It's straight locked. And you're trying to start that thing up and it's like, you see that turn coming up ahead. I'm like, oh, come on.
Hey, cool. I want to pivot back really quick. We had AD on the show. Mm-hmm. We talked about his last year and preparing for his last season. He said he knew guys like yourself and Stafford was going to come and work your asses off. Mm-hmm. Talk about preparation, hard work. You can prepare, like RC said, you even said it, as much as you want. You don't always get that result, right, that you expect. What were some of your most difficult challenges, knowing that you put in all the work, knowing that you can go out there and lift your team up, but sometimes things don't always happen that way?
As anyone that's played this game, injuries are a part of what's going to happen, right? After that rookie year, I look back, I had the ACL the next year, and After that rookie year, I hated watching that film. I go back and watch my rookie year film, I just get sick to my stomach because so much I was hesitant about. You could just see the weight that I was playing with, and so I really worked hard that next offseason. Spent a lot of time. I was running on the track with Robert Woods. I was just in such a good place. I came into that next year feeling so good, so free to just let it rip.
All right.
And then went first 4 weeks playing great, then go concussion week 5, tear my MCL. Week 6, come back for miss a couple weeks, come back for a week in New Orleans, and then play Seattle at home and tear my ACL in the same knee. And that was the year that we ended up going to the Super Bowl and play against the Patriots. And that was incredibly challenging because I'd worked so hard to get back to feeling like myself again, and then you get hurt and it's you're now committed to 9 months of having to work hard. You gotta be dialed harder. Yeah, exactly. How much more dialed in now? Now it's not just building my body up strong. It's completely rebuild. Go back to ground zero and have to rebuild the whole thing. So that was a real challenging thing. 2020 was really tough as well. Obviously that was such a weird year in football in general. I think we just felt real good going into that year, and we just results-wise, we just could not get the result that we wanted. And I felt like our process and things were were there, but we just could not get over the hump on that. And I mean, that year, the amount of footballs that I caught at 5 yards, like turned with my back to the defense. I mean, I'd come out of these games, like you're just getting hit by linebackers as a receiver. You know what's going to happen. But like when the entire year is catching the ball like this, and you've got 2 backers that are vice tackling you, like it's brutal. So that year coming out there was tough. Where it's like, man, I felt like our process was all good, just the results just weren't what they should have been.
Fanatics Sportsbook's $5 million jersey drop. Jerseys are dropping every single day. Just log in daily for your chance to win. It's time to suit up for season opener. This is Fanatics Sportsbook, the most rewarding sportsbook.
When did you know that 21 could be special? And I mean this from an individual standpoint. There was nothing more you could do as a receiver. Statistically, Triple Crown, you end up as a team. You're the best team in football when it's all said and done. Was there a moment, though, in that year where you sat down or you were at practice or even in the game and you said, okay, this is, for myself and my team, a very special season?
I'd say, in all honesty, it was within the first few days of competitive OTAs. Things were still a little weird, right? We had late OTAs. A lot of teams weren't doing OTAs. We came in and kind of did a modified version. But within probably the first 2 days, it was like with our offense and, 9 shows up fresh off of thumb surgery. He's throwing a football, period, for the first time to us. Like, he had just gotten done throwing a little Nerf ball with a trainer. First day of OTAs was his first day throwing. We're throwing 100 balls, right? So he comes fresh off this thumb surgery, and we're running our offense, and the ball is going to places and in the timing, it's like, you better turn around because the ball is whizzing past face masks. And so this is going to be different now. And that was first day, it's like guys are not ready for what's coming. And the next day, it was like the ball's not touching the ground. It's just and offensively, the feeling of, in 2020, we had the #1 defense in the league. So feel good about the guys we have on the defensive side of the ball. But we start offensively being like, this thing is just moving. It's different with 9 back there. And so within the first 2 days of OTAs, there was this feeling like we've got some chemistry here. We got some stuff going offensively that could be different.
Did you know when you became the #1? Because you weren't always the #1 guy.
Well,
and then it was that when you walked out there, bro, the safety's looking at you too.
So I would say, for how I'd approach things and as a receiver, outside of that rookie year where my mindset wasn't where it was supposed to be, I had gotten to the point where I just said, when I walk on the field, I thought, I'm the best football player on the field. That's just how I had to approach it. I've prepared for this. I'm the best guy here. I'm just going to play the game. And so that was my mindset on things, right? And we had the way that our offense had worked out. For a few years, it was Brandon Cooks, Robert Woods, and me, pretty evenly distributed, in terms of how we did things. And guys got hurt some years and whatnot, but it was pretty evenly distributed. And then we had me and Rob and Josh Reynolds. And then we come in that last year, and you got Van and Rob and me. And so my mindset hadn't really changed on that. So I didn't have a moment where I felt I'm the one now. Because I had been seeing myself as kind of I'm the guy, whatever.
You started seeing them safeties creep your way.
I was going to say, there comes a point where the game planning was hey, we're anticipating that you're going to be doubled on 3rd down, or on these, and that's when it started to be okay. But it was more of a production piece to that, we get off to such a hot start that first in 2021. It's understandably, when we're throwing the ball the way we are, teams are going to do something differently. So it never really hit my head that way, I guess.
What happened when 3 became a part of the team? OBJ. You are obviously the guy, and that was never a question, even once he became a part of the team. But there was a piece of it of, Coop's the guy, he's still the one, but we do have this other dude over here that's special, and everybody knows he's special. Mm-hmm. Was that sort of an immediate feeling when he became a part of the team, even though in Cleveland it really didn't show as it did in New York?
Yeah, we weren't really sure what that was going to be like, because when we had I remember getting on FaceTime with Odell and seeing like, hey, because his thing was like, he wasn't sure if we'd want him in LA. And me and Rob and Van all got on FaceTime with him. We're like, no, like we definitely want you to come, like, be a part of this. The day he flies in, shows up at practice, Rob tears his ACL, right? So like, it was a weird, like, the plan was for Odell to have a little bit of time, and then Rob goes down, and now, like, okay, Odell, you got 3 days to learn the offense. Like, you're playing now. Mm-hmm. And so we weren't sure what that was going to look like. But then when he got there, talk about someone that like knows football and can learn and just like mentally being as dialed in as he is. Like he picked up our offense like that, and it wasn't. I thought I was thinking I was gonna have to be talking to him and telling him what he's got. Like no, he's got it dialed in, knows what he's got, and he doesn't act like he comes in. He's still himself. He's got like lets his personality be who it is, and keeps things fun and light. But man, he knows his stuff. That was a real special thing when you had, Odell on one side, and I'm able to line up on the other side. And now it's like he said, now the safety can't do what he was, And we set, like the Super Bowl, that game was set up for Odell to go off. We anticipated that they were going to just double me, and we said, hey, the game plan is going to be give Cooper a man-to-man route. If he does get one-on-one, hopefully he can win it. If they double it, it's going to be an Odell show. And you kind of saw in the first quarter, first part of that game, like it was going to be the Odell show. And obviously he goes down. It was just hurt so bad for him because that was going to be a special performance, I think, from O.
That's why McVay is the evil genius, man. We saw that matchup coming, or how that game plan sort of was unfolding. But going back to that game, there were some really big moments. I remember towards the end, Jamar Chase, when it was crunch time, he kind of got behind Jalen. It was just a disconnect, but he got behind him. But in that moment, you had 2 touchdowns that game that led up to you getting Super Bowl MVP. Were those 2 touchdowns, those moments, bigger than Aaron Donald's sack to end it?
What AD did throughout that game was pretty special.
Right.
Like, from the point that Odell goes down to the last drive of the game, our offense did nothing, right? Like we were terrible. Couldn't make a play, but the defense kept getting stop after stop after stop after stop, and got us in a place where we could be then in, we got 6 minutes left with the ball, gives us an opportunity to go score. With AD's thing, it wasn't just that moment, right, where he beats, essentially goes so fast, beats the double team. Like they're sending the guard and center to him. He just beats the guard around the edge. Like, for him to do that is obviously an incredible moment. But what AD's thing was that whole entire game, he was, leading that defense. And that was what was, to me, is the most special thing, is what he did for that. Like, 2 touchdowns is what it is. AD played a complete game that Super Bowl.
He usually does this thing where he wants to cut the room in half. I'm surprised he hadn't brought it up today, because we've never been to a Super Bowl on this side, and you guys have. I really,
We've both been to 2, actually.
Well, that's very true. And I'm not going to ask that question
What
about.
y'all, 1-1?
Yeah, we 1-1.
Oh, okay.
I like 1-1.
Better than
Chan.
0-0.
I like 0-0. I like 0-0.
No, I prefer 1-1. I think is pretty cool. And talking about moments, the moment that confetti starts to rain down on you guys, hearing him talk about it, hearing some other guys talk about it, like, what's that feeling like?
The end of that drive, the last drive, right? I got absolutely rocked in the back of the end zone. So Von Bell smokes me in the back of the end zone. Penalty on them, penalty on us, replay the down. I was in a little bit of a fog, to say the least, in the aftermath of that game. But what I think the coolest thing was getting to like celebrate with my family. As all this other stuff wound down, we get, do the presentation and all that different stuff. But like being able to walk off the field with my family and be able to, like, we just found a little corner on the field and sat down together, and being able to have that moment with my boys and with my wife, where it was like the culmination of the season and everything, just being able to sit there for a second and reflect on like what that whole year was. That was the moment that I think I really cherished that, because the rest of the stuff's all fleeting, right? Like all the, that's a very fleeting moment. It's incredible, very fleeting, but that moment, I'll cherish that moment with my kids and with my wife.
You have an opportunity to reflect on what would that have been, 19? the ACL and the rehab and all that stuff?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and thinking through the journey of all that, right? Because I mean, I don't know if you guys have heard, like, I walked off that field in that 2018 season, the 2019 Super Bowl, and I walked off that field with just the clearest vision that this was gonna happen again, but that I was gonna get the opportunity to be a part of it, and being able to see myself up on that stage, having played a vital role in the game, and being able to walk out there with the Super Bowl MVP, having won a Super Bowl like that, being able to walk out there, having that experience, and my wife and I were the only ones. I told my wife once we got to the playoffs in 21 that this is what I was gonna like. I said, you don't need to worry about like the next 2 games. Like, I've already seen how this whole thing plays out, and I couldn't tell. Like, I kept that to myself. Like, the only person I felt comfortable telling was my wife, and being able to say, like, this is gonna happen. So I'm on the stage, and they're presenting the Super Bowl thing. They've told me before that I got MVP. I gotta find my wife to like see her, and right as they announced it, I saw her poke her head through, right in front of the stage, and I just watched her the entire time as it was announced, and just like the water just starts pouring out of her eyes. Like I'm looking at him, and as he's announcing, I'm like, I told you, like, this is, like, we're the only people that knew that this was coming. But it was just the wildest thing to be able to experience that, together.
Bro, that's nuts.
Yeah.
And it's such an interesting story with you and your wife. You were a kept man. You know what a kept man means? That means that your old lady was taking care of you.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But to meet someone at a track meet, to say to yourself, I'm going to marry this person. She goes off to college. You was like, hey, bro, like, I'm finna marry you. So you being off in college down in Arkansas, that ain't gonna work for me. Come back here. She's back.
Yep.
You guys put up a sign-up sheet for a wedding. That's a very college thing to do. How did that work anyway? How did the sign-up sheet?
It was what it sounds like. It was a piece of paper, wedding guest, like, tell us that you're coming, write your name on the thing, just put it up on the board in the locker room. You just sign it.
That ain't sexy.
It's college.
It's college. It's college. But, being able to be with your wife, being able to be with your boys, like, that's amazing. Some people meet their wives when they're already who they are. Like, you could have met your wife when you were already Cooper Kupp, when you had signed a new deal, what was it, 2020 or whatever it was. But you met your wife when you were living or trying to live this dream. And she was a part of living that dream with you. When you think back on all of her sacrifices, how much more satisfying does it make looking at her, knowing that you were the only two that knew this moment was coming, but also you were the two that sowed that much into that moment?
That's why that moment was so special, is she was a part of every part of this. Like, every challenge that we've talked about, she was a part of every piece of that. She was there for me when things are challenging. She's the first person that I'm talking to. She's the first person that sees me at the lowest of lows. She's seen my absolute worst parts, and she's stood beside me, and she's lifted me up through all of them. And going back, when we got married, we joined our bank accounts together, right? And it was my sophomore year, and her dad's there with us because he was co-signed on her account, right? So we're sitting there in front of her father, who is, signed on for accepting me into the family. I had to have this bank teller look at our bank account, look at me and say, I know you guys want to join this bank account, but you only have $3. Can I just give you this? I can just give it to you here. Like, how embarrassing that is.
You had $3?
I had $3 in my bank account. And I had to sit there and be like, this is new son-in-law. Like, yeah, this is me.
He ain't come with shit.
No, yeah, nothing. I didn't come with anything. But we worked through all that stuff together. It wasn't from lack of work. I mean, you're FCS, you're a student athlete. I don't have time to get a job. I work in the summer, landscaping and all the different, whatever I can find, basically. You just don't have time for that. But we went through all that stuff together. Like, she knew me when I had nothing, when we had nothing. And she was with me all the way through, and has been a part of, standing beside me and through all that. So that's what made that so special, was all of that, all of the depth of what our relationship is, made that moment really special.
And And you had the rookie deal, which was cool. Then you hit him. What was that conversation like with your wife? Like to see the $3 she brings in, she had bread, but it's kind of like, I'm not saying that now you're contributing, but it's like we worked through so much together. And now that, like I said, you done hit him. Like, I want to hold $10 if you got it.
When she was carrying the load and she was the one that was basically providing for us to survive and be able to eat, you know, like it wasn't ever a thing where, you know, every dollar that came in, we just felt like was ours. Like, how can we be a good steward of whatever money we have, right? The bank account is just the bank account. You know, it's the same thing for us. And I was like, she didn't hold anything against me. I didn't hold anything against her. It's like, now the bank account's the same bank account. It's just the numbers are a little bigger. You know, like it's the same. We're gonna live this thing. We're gonna do this the same way in terms of how we're gonna navigate it together and try to be a good steward of whatever that is.
Say, bro, this training camp tour needs to end. We spending way too much money. That's why we had to link up with Chime.com. It's a checking account that allows you fee-free overdraft up to $200 with SpotMe. Or you can get your direct deposit. I know you love a direct deposit when it hit. You can get your direct deposit up to 2 days early. Just go to Chime.com/pivot to sign up right now.
No monthly fees, no maintenance fees. And you know, I don't keep a lot of money in my accounts. So I might have an overdraft. Now I got something else canceled because I'm in the negative. SpotMe got you for $200. So now that next deposit goes right to your account. Man, it's like, you know, it's financial institution that got you. It's about community. We ain't trying to get over on you with Chime. Chime ain't trying to get over on you.
Hey, listen, we're always talking about we want to give back. We the OGs, so you know we coming to hook you up. Set up your direct deposit into a Chime account. After a qualifying direct deposit of $200 or more, Chime will notify you to enroll in SpotMe. Go open up an account. It's quick, it's fast, it's very simple. I love it. You should love it too.
Also, guys, eligible members can boost a friend's account with SpotMe, so you can take care of each other. Freddie T needs something, Chan needs something, I need something, then we all good. Live it up this summer and make progress toward your financial goals with Chime. Open your account in minutes at chime.com/pivot. That's chime.com/pivot. Chime feels like progress.
Banking services and debit card provided by the Bancorp Bank N.A. or Stride Bank N.A. Members FDIC. SpotMe eligibility required and overdraft limits apply. Boosts are available to eligible Chime members enrolled in SpotMe and are subject to monthly limits. Terms and conditions apply. Go to chime.com/disclosures for details.
Cool, you know, you can actually really dress, right? And in watching you choose clothing, you don't choose clothing like someone that would be from where you're from, right? Also, not like somebody who only had $3 in their bank account.
Oh, yeah.
At one time.
He done been around black dudes too much. I know what you're getting at.
So I was reading.
Hung out with black dudes.
I was reading, right?
Okay.
I think it's Coach Dumas, I think is his name. He said he called AC Davis the hood school. Is there actually hoods where you're from? Because it's like the West Side, and he's like, we kind of went to school in the hood.
Yeah, okay. So yes, would be the short answer. So like, Yakima at a time, I'm sure they're figuring some stuff out. There was a point in time where Yakima was like top 10, and whatever rate per capita, I don't know, whatever it is, right? But like whatever rankings, we were like top 10 in obesity and top 10 in crime, right? So there was a point in time where there was a low point there, right? Where like those are two rough things to be in the bad spot of, right? And
fat people and bad people.
Yeah, just out of shape people, and yeah. It wasn't.
He was supposed to be a fat criminal.
That's not what I didn't say that. It was a bad period of time for Yakima. Right? So like where I went would have been deemed as like the school that's, you know, not as good of a school.
Really? You had a Supreme Court justice that went to school there. He has a statue.
William Douglas.
Yeah. One day you probably get a statue. So it'll be a Supreme Court justice and one of the best wide receivers of his era. And even though you do get the hard worker, lunch pail, smart, understands offense, understands defenses, you actually worked to do that. You studied a lot of Fitz, a lot of AJ, and a lot of AB in preparing to become your own Cooper Kupp. Can you take me through why you picked those 3 guys?
Yeah, well, one is because my agent said, hey, you're going to get asked who you compare yourself to at the thing. So it's like I got to spend some time actually thinking about. But those are guys, I watched a lot of guys. But I honestly did think Fitz, I loved watching Fitz because when I was watching, the triple stick. The triple stick is something that I've incorporated into my game. Like it's a big part of how I operate in terms of my mentality running routes, right? And Fitz, I saw Fitz do it one time in practice. We had, I don't know how, but Eastern Washington, we've got like some kind of weird link into the NFL, and we're getting all these kind of practice film and stuff. I might get him in trouble actually for saying this. I don't know if they still got that connection, but I saw Fitz run it in practice, and I said, I want to make that part of my game, right? And so like the first person I saw do it was Larry Fitz. I loved the tools that he was using, and as his career went on, he kept reaching deeper into his tool belt to find ways to separate and do what he did, and that's why he was able to be productive for so long. You got AB plays the exact opposite of Larry Fitz. He's in terms of tool. I mean, you got Larry Fitz is 6'3", 220. AB's not playing like that, right? He doesn't want people to touch him. He keeps people's hands off him, plays quick, uses his quickness. I love how he played the game and the suddenness that he played with. And then AJ Green was someone that I thought, like, I had arguments with my coach all the time between AJ and Julio. Who do you like more? And I was like, look, Julio's an alien, right? Like, no one's gonna be like Julio. Like, I can't watch Julio and be like, oh yeah, I can do that. I'm not pulling anything from Julio film, but I can watch AJ. Like, I can pull some of this stuff. And now he's in his own right. He's freaky athlete, special dude, but he used some technique stuff that I thought was pretty special. So that's why those were
really quick. Talking about receivers, we talked to Les Snead earlier during practice, and we asked him, how does he go about scouting and finding guys in later rounds, guys that end up being the best, some of the best receivers in the entire NFL. If you had to go and scout yourself, right, coming into the NFL, what would you throw on the board as strengths or potential weaknesses?
I would say, route running and football intelligence, understanding the game, I think all would be something that I prided myself on. So I put that as a strength. Weaknesses, tough.
You ain't got
It's hard to be.
At least you didn't do this. At least you didn't do this. My weaknesses, I care too much.
Yeah, no, I didn't do. I'm not gonna do that. No, weaknesses are. Obviously, like I would say, like everyone did, probably like top end speed was not my. You just don't see that. That's not my forte. Right, so it's top end speed.
Can you have? I think I know the answer to this, but 40 times in actual game speed, you got game speed.
Yeah. No, and I think that's a 40 time. Me and 40 time have like a weird relationship. Right? like that thing screwed me pretty tough. I felt like I was coming out of the Senior Bowl and it's like, it's momentum, right? You're trying to build momentum towards the draft. Les had told me he was drafting me at 36. Then I ran my 40 time and I didn't hear from the Rams for a while, right? I'm like, now I know that I ran that 40 time, and Les is pumped because he gets to trade back until the third round, and he can pick me up there. And he's told me, he's like, look, you're a white receiver from a small school who ran a slow 40. Like,
easy.
I'm moving back.
Yeah.
Was that why your call was so boring? Like when he called you, it was like, are you ready to be around?
No, you wanna know why? It's because my Wi-Fi calling was off, and I was hearing like 2 words from like it's like. So I'm like trying to answer these questions. I'm like, look, man, I can't wait to be there. Like, I don't know what you're saying. So yeah, I didn't hear much of Les or Sean or anything on that phone call because my side was just cutting out.
Because they replayed it and like the only cool thing you said was like, I love nothing more, and the rest of it was like, yes sir, yes sir.
I couldn't hear a thing.
I was very disappointed.
So you're just like, yep, yes.
So now you fast forward past all that. You guys overachieve. Last year, and him talking about scouting yourself from college. You get a guy in Puka Nacua, many of the same things. Extremely tough, extremely intelligent, catches balls in traffic, and he comes along, he's the rookie of the year, breaks records, sets records much as you had, at times in your career. You have a good run game. You lose AD defensively. So this team is sort of in transition in a way and has a core. what is the outlook of this team this year after competing in a year that many people thought you'd be down?
I think what the cool thing about last year was it forced everyone to, stay within the building. Right? The expectations are within the building. It doesn't matter what, don't look outside the building because you're not going to hear anything good, right? So it forced a lot of people. We had 40-something rookies last year at training camp. Forces everyone to say, hey, this is about us, this group. What can we do? What are our expectations? What's our process? And let's go put our product on the field. Now, it's flipping a little bit, right? People want to talk about us a little bit more. You might see, the Rams up on the TV a little bit more. But for us, we just learned it's not about it doesn't matter what they say. We learned on the flip side last year. It doesn't matter what's being said about you. It's about our product and what we're doing in the walls of our building. And so, now we're going into this transition year. Things are changing, but it's don't listen to anything else. It doesn't matter. Whatever else is anyone's saying, whatever Ryan Clark's spewing with Stephen A. out there on the
talking bad about
you know what I'm saying?
Say great things about
it doesn't matter. But that's almost worse for us, right? Stop talking about us. We don't want to be talked about. We want to just handle our business. Because of what we went through last year, I think we guys are in that good mindset now where we are in transition. There's all this different stuff that people want to talk about, but it's hey, we're a new team. We're the 2024 Rams. How are we going to handle our business?
I got to ask you, because it's a person we all love, spent time with him. And you said the guru thing, they put different names on him. Bro, how special is Sean McVay? Because I know y'all have a good relationship. He's actually talked about you before, but just to sit down with a guy like that and be able to have him in your corner when you're breaking down film, when you're looking at football, because Sean's special.
All that stuff. I owe so much to Sean and challenging me. I don't know what you're like. You like studying film, right? I came out of high school and I got this football thing figured out. I know all this stuff. Then you get to college and you're oh, I don't know anything. And then I come out of college, I'm now I know football. I know all this stuff. And you go with Sean and you realize, oh no, I don't know anything. And it's this, he challenges you and pushes you to grow and understand what's happening. Why our defense is doing what they're doing. It's not just cover 3 is not just cover 3. Cover 4 is not just cover 4. Right? There's reasons to everything, and there's rules and the nuances of all these different things. And he wants to know all that. He wants to understand it, and then he wants to dissect it and destroy it. He wants to destroy it from the inside out. And that's such a cool thing to be a part of as a player. As long as you're in that place where you can understand, there's some things that will slow you down, too much. And so you have to sift through some of that stuff. But if you can get to this place where you understand some of those things and allow them to, become competent subconsciously with what some of those things are, it just helps you play so much more efficiently. So I appreciate him. And I mean, just from he was my age when he was leading the LA Rams, right? His first year, he was as old as I am right now. Stepping into the building and what he's learned, and he'd only been calling the offense, I think, for 2 or 3 years before that, right? So what he's done now in the last 8-7 years now, what he's built is incredible. And, you got to give him credit for just the people he's brought around, the culture he's established, and then as a play caller, being able to adapt and move and change as the years have gone on. And it's pretty special how he's able to do things. And I mean, even just thinking back to the Super Bowl, right? We're getting shut down for that whole, the game plans change. We get to 6 minutes, he gathers us together. He's hey, we're going to go down and score. You guys have seen probably the mic'd up of all that. He brings us together. And that moment, it's the one time in my career I've ever said, just give me the ball. It's never been my thing. But before that drive was the first time I ever was just whatever you do, just get me the ball. I got to find a way. And Sean's ability now to adjust all the game plan, all the things that we've done, all the 2 weeks of build-up and training, all the practices and everything, and be able to find a way to string together a 15-play drive that's within our game plan, but finding a way hey, they've been taking away all game, to find a way to get me the ball consistently throughout that drive, and then be able to get down to the and punch it in. I think it shows kind of a little bit of his ability in that moment to be able to adjust and know how to attack a defense that really had our number.
I'm a Cooper Kupp Daily Grind clip watcher.
Yeah.
Right? Because the clips you post at least are very mindset based, right? It's not necessarily, doesn't have to be specific to anything. to any job, to any goal. It's just, okay, if you approach life in this way, these things can be applicable. You talked about the journey and the destination being the mountaintop, and how if the mountaintop was the only focus of the journey, you miss all of these things in between, right? The destination is so important. You miss all of these things that built up to it. You can't truly enjoy it. So you enjoy it, but it doesn't change that now you're at the mountaintop, right? It doesn't change that now you have reached the pinnacle. And you either have to get down and maybe you stay down forever, or you have another climb. You are still looking at another mountaintop. What is that for you now? You've accomplished so much individually. You've accomplished everything you're supposed to as a team in 1 year. What are those mountaintop goals for Cooper Kupp?
That's a good question. I think there's an easy answer. Like every year is, in a way, it's a new opportunity, right? It's a new chance to climb a new mountain. The ultimate goal of any season is to win a Super Bowl. So there's always going to be that piece of it. I think as like a daily reminder for me, and something that I knew was so valued as a young player in this league, were the guys that every day poured into me, that like took the time to, teach me the game, to show me how to do it right. And whether that's with a word of encouragement or just the way that they handle their business when I watch film together. We watch film together and it's like, I want to play like that guy. That's something that to me I think is really important to me, is to pay that forward and to show guys that, what I've got in my room now, if you want to be successful in this league, here are some of the things that have helped me. And if there's any word I can give you that I feel like is going to give you an edge, I'm going to give you that word. If there's anything that you're seeing on film, I want to be able to answer those questions for you. I want to model the way for you with how I handle my business. When you see me in the meeting rooms, when you see me in the weight room, when you see me on the field, that you're going to be able to look to someone that's doing things the right way. I had Robert Woods for me that modeled the way for me. And I always wanted to be like, I want to compete like Robert Woods does. I want to prepare the way that he does. And so a big goal for me in the journey that has brought so much fulfillment and joy to my life has been just, being able to put my arm around some of these young guys that have come in this league and be able to truly enjoy just them being successful and seeing them grow into great football players and to great men. That's just been something that for me has been incredibly valuable, and a journey that I've found a lot of fulfillment in.
What has been or what is Cooper Kupp's biggest pivot?
Biggest pivot?
That one moment that happens, that without it happening, you wouldn't be who you are today.
Right before that conversation I had with my dad, right? And it was earlier that year. It was right before Christmas. We're about to leave for last day of school. We're about to leave for Christmas break. And we're at PE. I've got a basketball tournament that night. I'm in PE, and I'm like gassed. We're playing basketball. My legs are just jello. I'm like, what in the, this has never happened to me. I haven't even played basketball for days. I don't know what's going on, whatever. Just get home, get started on this basketball game. I get to this basketball game, and I'm like having to tap out. I'm like tapping out for the cup. I'm like, Coach, I can't do it. My legs are gone. Next game, same thing's happening. I'm at the free throw. I'm like getting ready to box out for a free throw, and I drop to my knees. My legs just give out. I'm like, I've got nothing. I'm in 6th grade. I'm like, I have no idea what's going on. They're like, all right, pull me out. My dad's like, I think you're dehydrated or something. I don't know what's going on, but he's got Pedialyte. I'm like chugging Pedialytes. I walk up the stairs for lunch, and I pass out on the floor. I'm like, what in the world is going on? I can't figure it out. Well, this goes on for a few days. Found out that I had stomach ulcers, and I had lost about 60% of my blood.
Wow.
And by the time I got to the hospital, I was eyes rolled back in the car. My parents were taking me to the car, and I got an out-of-body experience. I'm watching. I described this to my parents afterwards. I'm like, I saw everything happening from about 10 feet above. And I'm looking down at myself. I'm laying in the back of the car in a fetal position. They're driving me to the hospital. I'm like seeing the nurses take me, put me in the bed, shoving IVs in me and everything, and then I pop back into my body. Pow. And over the next 3 days, they're just pumping me back full of blood because they're like, a few hours, it would have been over.
Wow.
And I think there was a coming back from that right at the same time as my dad, I come back from this thing, I'm like, okay, we got things under control, we're back. And my dad has that conversation with me, and the mindset of that moment now, like moving into 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, and just, the mindset of how I was going to approach athletics, right? That'd be the first pivot, I think. My second pivot is when I met my wife. When we started our journey together and having someone else now, like I had this mindset and I had this thing that I was going after for me. But when it shifted to, I'm doing this for us, that was a huge, again, mindset shift that I think just became so much more powerful. And this belief that the things that you believe in, the things that convict you, when you're doing them for yourself, I think that's one thing. But when those convictions become something that you do for someone that you love and a part of something that's so much bigger than yourself, that's when those things, I think, become supercharged. Then being able to do that and that journey together, like we've talked about here, like that is what ultimately took me to where I wanted to go, and where we got to go together. And I've talked at length about what she's meant to me in that journey as well. But that would probably be the big pivot.
Love it.
The last thing though I would love to hear is you speak about faith a lot. And faith is obviously the, substance of things hoped for and evidence of things not seen. To be able to see that, right, and remember so vividly what you saw in that car, how often when your faith is challenged or when adversity hits, do you think back to that moment and how much it could have ended your life and ultimately how much it changed your life?
Yeah, I think in those moments, like those experiences and the things, like, if you went into a mission field, you might see some crazy things that you couldn't explain, right? And there's lots of miracles I think have happened in this world, but I don't think that miracles create true faith, right? They're something that I think can be a part of it, but in those challenging times, I don't think of those crazy things that I can't explain. I think of the people that I have in my life that have meant so much to me. I think the relationship I have with my wife, the relationships I have with the people that God's put in my life, how He's put people intentionally in there to have a word for me, to show me the way He's talked through people and worked through people. And ultimately, I go back to just what's in my chest. Like I've a piece of Him is in me, and I know what's true and what's real. And that is where things go when it's tough, is going back to, I know where my identity lies. And, I think I've gone through some crazy stuff. Like I've seen some wild things, some things that I can't explain, whether with the vision of the Super Bowl or, going through that moment in the hospital. But it's not that. It's not that. It's intrinsic. It's a part of the journey of, just like my relationship with the people that I love, it's my relationship with Christ. And that is in its own thing, where I fall back on.
I love that. I'm gonna tell you what, man, that was excellent, man. You can't beat that. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna tell you why you got a lot of faith. Hey, cut them off.
How come they're better than doing this year than they were last year?
Right. So you gotta look both ways, what we did and what we are doing.
They keep me behind. I'm media when I get out here. They keep me behind the chains. How you doing, man? How's it been, bro?
Great.
Been going well?
Oh, yeah, I'm
good, man. You? Doing well. Doing well. It's a very running back friendly offense, man.
Oh, I love it.
Yo, what's up, baby?
Hey, just let anybody coach these teams now.
Man.
Appreciate that. What's up, man?
What up, my brother? How you doing, man?
Doing good?
We're gonna be at the hotel tonight, too.
Are you?
Yeah, we're gonna talk to Coop.
I'll pop by there.
Yeah, so we'll see you. Yep.
That's awesome. So you're getting with him?
Yeah.
That's great. I saw your guys deal with Ra again, man. How cool is that?
Bro, Ross so awesome, man.
He's so happy too, man.
Yeah. You see, it took those dusts. I texted him though. You taking these dudes to water parks? Like you being soft already?
Did he do? I didn't see that.
He took them to the water park.
Did he?
Yeah, they had a morning lift, and then they went.
But Mike told him. Mike said, "Be Rod. You gonna be Rod? Be Rod."
That's true.
How you doing, man? Yes, sir.
Oh yeah.
Q Lake. What up, brother? How you doing, man? Good to see you, brother. Good to see you. Is this the first joint y'all had? First joint practice? Third? Bro, I never.
This our fourth practice.
When I played, bro, we did it one time my last year. Pittsburgh, we never did it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't want none of this.
Really?
I don't know how to act.
Played against Dan Campbell now.
Like, I was so old by that time, I ain't care. Baby Shaq, what's up? My man, good to see you too, man.
So you can't be calling me that.
How you doing, bro? What up, my dog? I'm glad I caught you now before you got really sweaty. What's up? How you doing,
everybody
man?
know that now.
Yeah,
Everybody already know that.
Here's the thing, though. The hopes is y'all don't get no sun.
Look, I told him, I said, we do. Coach, call it out. We gonna need CPR. Everybody gonna pass out, man. Everybody.
Hey, that weather too good in Cali, ain't it?
You know that body be ready to go.
You good, bro?
Yes,
Big
sir,
fan.
you know.
Yes, sir. Do your thing. As they started changing the rules, have you started changing your mindset? Because my whole thing was, I was like, bitch, go play, go hit somebody, go do something. But you can't hit nobody anymore. You have to adjust. Like, oh, okay, it's not the same as it used to be. I got to do that.
Hold up, limitless. Niggas to me, got pin in it. I fought the head to witness it. Got my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling got me up. On the mission got me up. Knowing me, I got the key. Only vision I can trust. Limitless. Niggas to me, got pin in it. I fought the head to witness it. Got my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling got me up.